Hello, my name is Alessia Ferri, and this is my TGFU presentation. Please ignore my dog barking in the background. I can't do anything about that. Thanks so much. So I will start off with an introduction, a little bit about what is TGFU. TGFU stands for Teaching Games for Understanding. And these are tactics and skills presented in a game-like setting. So using mini games to focus on tactics and skills that will help better understanding of the sport, of the given sport that is assigned. Students will learn concepts like how to play the game, rules of the game, tactical awareness, and decision-making. So with these game settings, you can also add modifications that will challenge the students. You can manipulate the space. You can add more space or less space. You can add rules that will be in place for the remainder of the game. And what this will do will add more pressure, and it will challenge the students. So by adding passing rules, you have to make 3 passes before you can shoot. This will really help challenge the offensive and defensive players, as well as equipment by adding more pylons or less pylons. And then players, obviously adding players or removing players. So a 3v3 situation, you can change it to a 3v1, or you can do a 2v1, situations like that will help build pressure in a game-like situation. So the sport that I'm focusing on is basketball. The equipment is basketballs, pylons, pennies, and the age range is 8 to 10 years old. So this is the elementary level, and my setting is an indoor gymnasium. So my first activity, the objective is dribbling skills. So what I have here is the orange will start off with the ball, and they will be offense. The purple is the defensive players. So you can also add more players or less players. You can have mini games like this set up throughout the entire gym, or you can use the entire gym as a whole, add more pylons, more players, and this will be an entire gym setting. And you can actually use this as a grander game. So you can have a time limit. You have 5 minutes, or you have 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And basically, if, let's say, the purple steals off of the orange, they become the offense. So now, whichever side has more players, they become the winner of the team. So you can obviously change this to make it more challenging or more difficult. So what I have here is the orange will have to get to a certain color that I call out without the purple stealing the ball off of them. So for instance, if I call out green, orange will have to make its way to a green pylon without purple stealing possession of the ball. And obviously this focuses on dribbling, because if this is done successfully, then orange is using tactical skills that will make them succeed in getting to that certain pylon. They're keeping the ball close to their chest and they're dribbling low. They are succeeding in defeating the defensive side. And then I have some questions for the follow-up. How were you able to avoid the defensive players? How were you able to steal the ball off an offensive players? What strategies did you use to move around successfully without losing possession of the ball? And then what strategies did you use to successfully steal the ball from an offensive player? So by adding these questions, it's allowing the students to see what strategies a successful student is using, whereas it's also pointing out the flaws without actually pointing someone out. So for an example, if an offensive player is saying, well, I was actually able to use the skill of dribbling low to the floor so that no one can actually come by and grab the ball off of me. Someone who is now dribbling high and notice that they were getting the ball stolen off them quite a few times can use this strategy to better their tactics. And then obviously you can add modifications to the game to make it more difficult. You can add new pylons for each color. So for example, if I called out red, and the orange is running to the red, I can now call out red again. So now all the players at the red pylons have to now make their way to another red pylon. And obviously I've spaced the colors out so that if I do use this modification, then it will be more challenging because it's a longer space than if I were to call out green or purple. And then you can obviously add more defense versus offense. So making it odd numbers will lessen the chance of the offense succeeding, and obviously add more pressure. And then you can obviously make it simpler. If you notice the students are walking to the pylons as opposed to running, that means they're probably not as comfortable with their dribbling skills. So they're focusing more on the ball and not on their spatial awareness. Then you would give them more time to get there. And then obviously by adding more offense than defense. So taking away some of the pressure off of the students that are struggling more. My second activity, the objective is passing, and I used this as my second activity because it also uses the skills that I've introduced in the first activity, which is the dribbling. Now, obviously, for these students to be able to pass and shoot and get to that area where they need to shoot, they have to be using those dribbling skills that they were focusing on the very first activity. So what I have here is a 2v2 situation. The red has to score on the red pylon and the black has to score on the black pylon. And what this adds is spatial awareness and decision making. So these players have to now put into context, where is my teammate? Where am I scoring and where's the defense? So it's not just where's the defense anymore or where's the blue pylon or where's the green pylon, but now we're adding decision making into this and spatial awareness, focusing on more things than once. And this also, you can use this as a way of focusing on the passing skills, obviously. So using different techniques, overhand passing, which is like the rainbow passing, or you can do bounce passing, trying different ways to get around defense. And then again, the decision making is utilizing when do I pass to my opponent or when do I shoot. So this adds a new context to the game and the activity. And then a few questions that I have are, how were you able to get open for your partner? How were you able to steal possession? And what strategies did you use to decide on whether you were passing or shooting? So the last one's obviously decision-making, like I mentioned previously. And then, of course, there's modifications to make it more difficult. You can change the number of passes. So now these students have to use 3, 5, 10 passes before they can actually shoot. And you can switch to the dominant hand. So if their dribbling skills are what they're focusing on more, like if you notice that some of the teams are dribbling all the way to the point in which they need to shoot, they're not using the passing skills as often, then you can change the non-dominant hand so that they more likely will pass the ball than dribble because they're not comfortable enough to make it all the way there in their non-dominant hand. As well as making it simple, you can add more players. So you can make it, instead of a 2v2, you can do a 3v1 so that the offense only has to get around one person. And then that'll make less pressure and it'll give them more time to focus on who will I pass to or if I will shoot. And then I have a conclusion, and this is the important part at the end of the practice or the class time when you need to evaluate and give feedback to the students, making sure they knew what was happening and they knew the importance of the games. So that's why I have the purpose and objective of the activity. Purpose to develop the specific skills for that sport. So making sure they know what sport we're focusing on and why we're focusing on these skills. And then the objective of each game or mini activity. So the first activity, the objective would have been dribbling, and the second activity would have been passing. So making sure they're aware of that, because you don't want them to go into that second activity now putting more emphasis on the dribbling. You want them to realize, okay, this is supposed to be about passing, so I should focus more on my passing skills than my dribbling skills. And then, of course, offering feedback is always important to know for the students, so they know what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. So this can help better their understanding of the sport. What they did well, what did or did not work, and then what aspects of the activities were helpful. So maybe if the first activity, if it was too simple, then the basic activity as a whole did not work, but by adding in the new colors, or maybe by adding in using the same colors sequentially, so like if I said green and then you're at a green already, you have to run to that other green, maybe that worked better. So by hearing what they have to say about the activities can help me focus more on what areas I should be working on more when I'm organizing these activities. And then obviously this also helps students who are struggling by hearing what they did, what other players did well that were successful, and they can use those strategies and those tactical skills into what they're learning so that everyone could share ideas with each other and ultimately be successful as a class together. And that is the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.